Know your role. You are listening to The Competitor's Brain. This is episode number 27, and I am Lauren Fox. So one thing that you really need to have a handle on if you're a player is what your role is on a team. And if you don't know that, and your expectation every day when you go out to the field or show up at the court, the gym, wherever, is that you're going to be in the starting lineup. Well, if you're on a team of 20 people, there's more than a 50% chance if it's baseball that you're going to wind up being disappointed. So knowing your role makes a huge difference for you. I'll go back to an example in the 80s. Again, obviously I'm a big Dodger fan. And the Dodgers back in the 80s, and the team that won in 1988, which was not a good team. You look at the Oakland A's, and the Oakland A's had players like Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco, Carney Lansford, Dave Stewart. Like, that was a team full of studs. And then you look at the Dodger team, which just didn't have the positional depth that the Oakland team did. But what the Dodger team had was a bunch of guys who sort of fit into appropriate roles on the roster. And to think a little bit more about that, those guys had an identity. They called themselves the stuntmen. And their job was to, if the lead actor wasn't able to take care of a role and to act in a role because maybe it was too dangerous for them, well, that was the time to bring on the stuntman. And they actually had Mitch Poole, who was one of their clubhouse managers, draw a stuntman cartoon that featured all these guys and sort of showed what their own sort of view of that role was. And they wore those T-shirts. They sold those T-shirts to people. I still have one of those T-shirts, and this is 2024, 36 years later, I still have a stuntman shirt. But when you look at some of the names on the shirt, these aren't guys that you've heard of. It's Dave Anderson, it's Mike Sharperson, it's Franklin Stubbs, it's Jeff Hamilton, Rick Dempsey, Tracy Woodson. A bunch of guys that you've probably never heard of are on that shirt, but those guys all have a World Series ring. And they wanted to play, don't get me wrong, and they got opportunities to play. Mickey Hatcher, who was one of the stuntmen, had a 3-run home run in Game 1 of the World Series and promptly rounded the bases as fast as anybody. But they knew what their role was, but they were also ready in case they were needed to step into a starring role and assume that. And when the Dodgers won the series, Rick Dempsey, who is not their starting catcher, typically was the one who was behind the plate. So it's a matter of knowing what your role is. And the other side of the coin that accompanies that for a coach is informing a player what their role is. And the same thing goes in a work setting, where if your boss has an expectation of you and you have a different expectation of yourself, you need to true that up. You need to get on the same page and really understand what your boss expects from you. Or if you're the boss, make sure that the employees who are with you on this journey in your company also understand what you expect from them and what you expect them to step into when you might need them most. Because if they don't know their role, they're going to be disappointed a lot of the time, and you're going to be disappointed a lot of the time. But if you can explain somebody's role carefully, set expectations, set them up to succeed, they are more likely to succeed when you need them most.